Good morning. This is Dr. McDaniel. I'm a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist in New York City, and I'm bringing to you all things health-related for women. So it's obviously the weekend because I'm not at the office. I'm at the horse farm today, and the Wi-Fi is really bad here, so it's hard for me to do anything except either watch the girls, Jill's outside today, or sit in the car, walk around, just kind of contemplate the universe's mysteries, or I could do a presentation on the podcast. So I was thinking, what will I do? I never have notes or anything with me here to jot anything down or to check like facts and things. It has to be stuff that has come up in the office. And I thought, last week I had a couple of patients with the same issue, and that's why I said itchy after the deed, because that's what happened. I had a couple of patients who complained or who were worried about potentially, I should be wearing shades today, this is crazy sun today, who were worried about potentially having like a sexual infection or something, because they said they were perfectly fine, they had zero problems, and then they had sexual relations, and within 20 minutes or so they were irritated and itchy, and they thought it must be related to having had intercourse recently, because they had zero problems before, now they're having problems. So that's a complaint I hear quite often. I heard about 2 or 3 times this past week, and I would say on average I maybe hear this complaint probably about 3 times a week or so. And errant walk there, and it's usually the same thing. It's what we call a vulvitis or a contact dermatitis. It's from a skin irritant. Now I will say, of the times that I get that complaint, maybe 30% of the time when I hear that complaint, it is a sexual infection, and it's always herpes, because they had tiny little blisters from a herpes outbreak that had formed, but they weren't aware that they had blisters from herpes that had formed. And then of course with intercourse, the friction caused the blisters to pop. So then after intercourse, they had tiny little, or what we call punctate ulcerations of the skin that burn and sting and are highly uncomfortable. Now usually though, the difference is they won't say that they had itching. They'll say they had burning, stinging, swelling, discomfort. It's gotten a little worse. They can hardly walk. But they won't tell me that they had itching. And itching is pretty uniquely reserved for the contact irritant. So usually what happens, so the 70% of the time when I get this complaint, is that she had a mild vaginal discharge or a vaginal imbalance, vaginal infection. And the majority of the time it's tiny little curds of yeast. She had a lot of tiny little curds of yeast. They were already present in the vaginal vault or vaginal canal. She wasn't aware, because the discharge in the yeast was not heavy enough to cause her to notice a discharge or any kind of wetness or any itching before sexual activity. And then with sexual activity, that either bacterial imbalance, yeast, those curds, that little bit of discharge, it all got pulled with the friction, and rubbed out into, sorry, my allergies are kicking up, I'm at the farm. It got pulled with the friction and rubbed out into the vaginal opening, what we call the introitus, and then it got rubbed into the surrounding skin. So after intercourse, she no longer had the asymptomatic, or the non-symptom, no evidence of that mild yeast or bacterial imbalance, because it's been removed from its hiding place, basically, It's been removed from the hiding place and it's been pulled out into the vaginal opening, the introitus, and the vulvar vaginal tissues. So what happens is we actually do not have itch, irritation, or pain fibers, sensation in the vagina. All of those are on the outside skin and in the very lower portion of the vaginal vault. So the opening, the introitus, and on the vulvar tissues. So what happens is she now went from that yeast and bacterial or curds being hidden to it being blatant because it's been rubbed into the vaginal opening and the tissues, and now it's an irritant. So it causes swelling, burning, stinging, most predominantly itching, and because it was not a heavy discharge, she'll usually say she has all of that with no discharge. Of course, when I do the vaginal exam, I'll see usually a light amount of discharge in the vagina or lots of little curds just stuck like mold on a wall, stuck to the vaginal wall. And then most prominently, I'll see the evidence of the vulvitis or the inflammatory reaction to that irritant on the skin. So it will be usually a little bit red or pink, a little bit swollen or inflamed. And then sometimes it'll be tiny little bit of like a patchy changes, which is a rash, a macular rash. And I always do the same thing. So I'll treat them for whatever the vaginal discharge, the source of that vaginal discharge, be it yeast or bacterial elements. I'll obtain cultures to confirm that it's not just the yeast or bacteria, that it's just the yeast or bacteria, and that there's not like a chlamydia or gonorrhea that's hanging out with it. And then also to confirm that it's the run-of-the-mill yeast, the run-of-the-mill bacteria. That's the bigger deal too. So I'll treat her for the vaginal discharge. That's the source of the inflammation and the irritation. But I will also, that's Jill in the background, I will also treat her for the skin irritant, the vulvitis. And the vulvitis is with the topical antifungal, anti-inflammatory. And if she applies that frequently throughout the first day or two, the symptoms will completely disappear within that time frame. So that's the I guess that's everything for that. That's usually what happens and what I do. So that's kind of a summary of the usual itchy after the deed. So I hope that was helpful information. If you enjoy the information that I bring to you on this channel, it's of value to you, you get some help from it, please hit the like, subscribe buttons, and then also follow me not just on Facebook but on YouTube and on the podcast, which is GYN Corner. Everything is nicely organized on the podcast and on the YouTube, and also I have the playlist on the YouTube. So if there's a topic, I have a whole bunch of playlists because I've been running these podcasts for over 2 years now. So if there's a topic that you'd like to investigate further, you can just see all the different presentations that I've made on that topic. And I would say, I don't know offhand, but there's at least 20 different playlists on everything. All of the different parts of the female body and pregnancy, a lot of the GYN office issues, pain, even some of the, like for my program, I have the weight loss program that I've been running since the fall. So I have some topics that are important in the weight loss program. So anti-inflammatory foods, anti-inflammatory supplements. So just a lot of helpful information in my humble opinion. So thanks again for joining me. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.